And the second thing that we talked about was which syllable is getting stress, which syllable is not getting the stress, isn't it? And then I had shown you a particular pattern in which syllables are getting marked. Okay, so if a syllable is getting the stress, then that syllable will be marked by a slanting line, and a syllable which is not getting the stress, that syllable will be marked by a curved line. Okay, these two patterns we had discussed. The other thing that I talked about was regarding the concept of foot. You remember concept of foot? What is a foot? I had said foot is a unit for measurement. And what do we have in a foot? Foot, we have a couple of syllables. Okay, it is a unit of measurement, and in the foot, what do we have? We have a group of syllables. Group of syllables means there can be two syllables also, there can be more than two syllables also. Okay, so two or more syllables, when they form a group, then that particular group is called foot, right? And I had also discussed with you a couple of more things. Are these things clear? Can somebody respond? The concept of foot is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
How you will mark stressed syllables, how you will mark unstressed syllables, that is clear. Marking is clear. Step number 1 and step number 2 is clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's good. Now, you see, in the last class, I told you a pattern. Let me go back to this same slide once again. I was explaining how will we mark out the pattern, right? Just a recap of what I had said. So first step is supposing this lines. Okay, these are the 3 lines of the poem that. So first step is second step is mark which syllable is getting the stress, which syllable is not getting the stress. Okay, and then I said we will have to identify how many stresses do we have in one line. Supposing in one line we have 5 stress, then how many segments, how many feet we will have in that particular line? If you remember, I said at maximum number of feet that we can have, that is maximum number of divisions that we can have in one line, is based on the number of stress that we have. So in the first line where we have 5 stress, so maximum number of divisions that we can have in the first line is 5, which means that we can have less than 5 divisions also. We can have 3 divisions also, we can have 4 divisions also, and we can have 5 divisions also. So one line can be segmented. One line can be divided into how many segments, that is what we want to say. Now see, in this particular line, I told you that we have seen a more or less a similar pattern when we have divided this entire line number 1, into 5 divisions. What is the similar pattern that we saw? We saw in the first division, that is in the first segment, we have this sun. This sun means this is an unstressed unit, sun is a stressed unit. So what is the pattern that we are getting in the first unit, in the first segment? You can say this is the first foot of this line. In the first foot of this line, what is the pattern of marking? What is the pattern of marking? We say this is unstressed, stressed. Okay? Let's come to the second line, second foot. In the second foot of the same line also, we have the same pattern, unstressed, stressed. third foot also we have the same pattern, unstressed, stressed, fourth, fifth. Now see, we have made, supposing, 5 divisions based on the criteria I told you, that there are 5 stresses. So let's see if we can divide it into 5 segments or not. Now supposing we divided it into 5 segments, then what is the description that we can give to the segments that we have made? Segments mean foot. What is the description? If somebody asks you to describe uh, which pattern is for being followed in which foot of which line, then as a student, how we are going to describe it? So what we will say is, in line number 1 there are 5 feet, so we will have the plural, right? Foot is singular. If we have 1, then we will say foot. If it is more than 1, plural, okay, then we will say feet. So we will say in line number 1 there are 5 feet. In each of these 5 feet, what is the pattern that we are getting? We are getting the same pattern. What is the pattern? The first syllable is unstressed, the second syllable is stressed. Okay? So this is where you will be describing. Again, you will go to line number 2. You will do the same process, and then you will see what is the pattern that we have there. Okay, so what we will be doing is, if we are asked to describe, then foot by foot we will have to describe. Okay, now this will be a little hectic. Hectic means you will have to write and write and write in detail. Now, to avoid so much of detailed explanation, we have a particular uh, generous. There are in 7 we have made feet. Okay, these are the 7 patterns. Patterns means, please remember, I'm talking about in terms of foot. You take any individual foot, one foot you take. Supposing you take this sun. In this foot, this sun, okay, what is the pattern? We saw this was unstressed, stressed. So we have a name to this pattern where in one foot there are 2 syllables, and out of the 2 syllables the first syllable is unstressed, the second syllable is stressed. Okay, now see, these are the names of the 7 patterns that we have when we describe foot or poetic feet. Number 1 is iambic, number 2 is trochaic, number 3 is Pyric, number 4 is Pondic, 5 is anapaestic, 6 is dactylic, 7 is amphibrachyic. Okay, now let's see what are the patterns one by one. Let's go over to the first pattern. What is the first pattern? Look here. The first pattern is iambic pattern. In iambic pattern, what happens? We have 2 syllables in one unit. Okay, in one foot, how many syllables do we have? We have 2 syllables. Out of these 2 syllables, the first syllable is unstressed, the second syllable is stressed. Let's look at the examples. Repose. Okay, this is one word, isn't it? Repose. How many syllables? Can you say how many syllables do we have in this word repose? In the word repose, how many syllables do we have? We can say we can say pose, right? Re is the first syllable, pose is the second syllable. So there are 2 syllables. Now in this word, we have figured out there are 2 syllables. Now our next job is to find out both the syllables are getting the stress or one syllable is getting the stress. If you say one syllable is getting the stress, then here which one is getting the stress? Re is getting the stress or pose is getting the stress? How will you figure it out? I told that day you will have to recite. If you just read, you will not be able to figure out. Only when you recite in a particular rhythm, then you can figure out which syllable is getting the stress. Let's take, for example, in this particular word, the second syllable pose is getting the stress. Okay, so re is unstressed, pose is stressed. Okay, so what will be the name of the pattern then? I say again, if the foot consists of two syllables, such that the first syllable in the foot is unstressed and the second syllable of the foot is stressed, then that kind of a pattern is called iambic pattern. So re is unstressed, pose is stressed. Similarly, in the next word, belief, again we have B, which is the first syllable, the second syllable is leaf. So B is unstressed, leaf is stressed. Okay, so if we consider belief to be part of one single foot, where there are two syllables, B and leaf, what is the pattern that we are getting? The first syllable is unstressed, the second syllable is stressed. So this pattern where in one given foot there are two syllables and the first syllable is unstressed, the second syllable is stressed, then this pattern is called iambic pattern. Okay, now I'll go back to the example that we have seen, this sun. Okay, let's go back to the example. Now see, so this sun light shames November where he grieves. Okay, can you identify the name of the pattern? What we did till now was we described it saying what? The first foot has two syllables, out of which the first syllable is unstressed, the second syllable is stressed. But this is the description of one particular pattern. So now we have the name of that particular pattern, right? So instead of describing in so much of a detail, we will simply say that the first foot of this first line is written in iambic pattern. Okay, so we don't have to describe so much. We don't have to go into the details of so much of description or writing. We will simply say that this particular foot of this particular line is written in iambic pattern. Okay? So simply we will use one word and we will finish off our job. Understood? So let's go back to our pattern once again. Iambic pattern, right? What is iambic pattern? In iambic pattern, please remember we will have two syllables in one foot. Out of the two syllables, the first syllable will be unstressed and the second syllable will be stressed. If this pattern we get, then this pattern is named as iambic pattern. Correct? Is it clear to you, boys and girls? Is the pattern clear? Is iambic pattern clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now let's move on to Trocake pattern. The second one in line is Trocaic. Okay. In Trocake, what happens? Trocake is the exact opposite of iambic pattern. Exact opposite. We will have two syllables here also in one foot. but the markings will be opposite. Here what we'll get? The first syllable will get the stress and the second syllable will not get the stress. Okay, so the first syllable of this pattern gets the stress and the second syllable of this pattern is unstressed. Let's look at the example that we have here. Garland. Garland, we say, right? Garland. Garland. Okay, so this word garland is also having two syllables, right? Out of the two syllables, we are stressing on the first syllable, gar. So the first syllable is stressed, the second syllable remains unstressed. Okay, look at example number 2. Speaking. Speak ing. Speak ing. Correct? So what is the thing? The first syllable gets the stress, speak. The second syllable does not get the stress. So it remains unstressed. Ing. Okay? Speak ing. So in such cases, when we have one particular foot in which we have two syllables again. Okay? But here the first syllable is getting the stress, the second syllable is unstressed, then this kind of a pattern is called Trocake pattern. So iambic is where the first is unstressed, the second syllable is stressed, and Trocake is the opposite of iambic, where the first syllable in Trocake is stressed and the second syllable is unstressed. Okay? Now, let's move on to pattern number 3. I'll come back to that. Pattern number 3. This is called, sorry, this one, Spondaic pattern also has two syllables in one foot. Okay, there will be two syllables in one foot, but this is a special case where both the syllables will have stress. That is why we say this is a special case. Please remember, spondaic pattern is where we will have two syllables in one foot, similar to iambic and trochaic. Okay, there also we are having two syllables, two syllables. Here also in spondaic we will have two syllables in one foot, lekin with a difference. What is the difference? Here both the syllables in the same foot will get the stress. Okay, see, heartbreak. The word heartbreak has two syllables. One is heart, the other one is break. When we pronounce this particular word, you will see that we give force on both the syllables. We say heart break. We will not say heartbreak. We will also not say heartbreak. No. When you hear things in a normal tone, you will see that people are stressing on both the words, heart also, break also. So heartbreak, if it is considered to be one word, okay, then both the syllables are getting the stress. Okay, so here, that is why we say it's a special kind of a pattern where we have two syllables in one given foot and both the syllables get equal stress. So what we have is we stress on both the syllables. So two stressed syllables. Okay, two stressed syllables if we have in one foot, then that pattern is called spondaic pattern. Okay, this is a special case. Please remember, we have another very special case which is called Pyric pattern. Now Pyric pattern, dear students, is opposite of the spondaic pattern. Okay, In spondaic, we saw that both of them are stressed. In Pyric pattern, what happens is both the syllables are unstressed. This is also a special kind of a pattern. So Pyric is that pattern where we have two syllables and both the two syllables are unstressed syllables. For example, supposing in a poem you get these words coming together in the, okay, it might come together in one segment, in one foot. So you will find that in is also not getting the stress, the is also not getting the stress. Okay, why? It might be because the word that comes before in is getting the stress. The word that comes after the, that is getting the stress. So in between, it acts like a valley where we have in the, and they become one segment, they become one foot. So when both the syllables in one given foot will not get the stress, they will remain as unstressed syllables, then that particular pattern is called Pyric pattern. Okay, so Pyric and spondaic, they are opposite to each other, and Iambic and Trochaic, they are opposite to each other. Okay, now I'll give you some examples. Uh, See, Iambic foot. Okay, in Iambic foot, what happens? We have one unstressed syllable, then one stressed syllable. Okay, examples are, you see, behold, destroy, the sun, and watch. So the ones that are written in red, those syllables are getting the stress. Okay, so how many syllables we will have in these patterns? We will have syllables. And what will be the pattern of marking? The pattern of marking is the first syllable will be unstressed, the second syllable will be stressed. If this pattern we get in one particular foot, then what we'll say? We will say that foot is written in iambic pattern. We can also say in a other way. We can also say that this foot is iambic in nature. Iambic in nature. Or we can simply say this is an iambic foot. As you wish. You have multiple options. Okay. This is an example of iambic. We have some more examples of iambic. The first piece of three-line poem that I showed you, this sun, now, behold, all those things, that is also iambic. You have some more examples here. You see, behold and watch the sun destroy and grow. So you see, in every line, let's see the first line. Behold and watch the sun destroy and grow. Can you see? See nicely. I'll just, yeah, hopefully you can see. Behold and watch the sun destroy and grow. Okay, so how many syllables do we have? We can count. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In the first line, we have 10 syllables. How many syllables here are getting the stress? Let's figure out. So you have to recite, behold and watch the sun destroy and grow. You get the rhythm? You have to recite and see. Okay. So hold is getting the stress, watch is getting the stress, sun gets the stress, Troy gets the stress, grow gets the stress. So how many syllables are getting the stress? 5 syllables are getting the stress. So I told you, if there are 5 stresses, we can start with 5 divisions. Okay, we can start with 5 divisions first and we can see whether it works or not. If in any case we see that many 5 divisions are too much, then we can reduce it into 4 divisions, no problem. Okay, so let's begin with 5 divisions and let's see whether we can figure out a pattern that we have in this particular line. So 5 divisions means we had seen there are 10 syllables and 5 stresses. That means I said we will have 5 divisions. So 10 divided by 5 will be how much? 2. So in every segment we will have 2 syllables. Okay, so first 2 syllables, behold. Okay, you can segment it out. This is the first foot. And watch, this is the second foot. The sun, this is the third foot. Destroy, fourth foot. And grow, this is the fifth foot. So how many segments do we have in this particular line? We have 5 segments. These segments are called foot. Okay, so if I ask you how many feet do we have in this particular line, can you tell me how many feet do we have in this particular line, boys and girls? In the first line that we are reading, how many feet do we have in the first line? Can Very good. 5 feet. These divisions are called feet. Okay, please remember. So we will not say divisions. Now onwards we will say feet. Okay, if we have 1, then we will say foot. If we have more than 1, we will say feet. So in this particular line we have 5 feet. Correct? Now this much we have done. Job is done. Okay, in question paper, most of the times they will give a poem piece, maybe 4 lines they will give you, maximum 4 lines they give you. Okay, so what you have to do is you will simply have to do this. You figure out the number of syllables, then second step you have to do, that is you figure out the number of stresses, which syllable gets the stress, count the number of stress, and then divide the line into feet and keep it as it is. That is what the question paper asks you. Sometimes, okay, in some of the papers you will see an extra thing is added. What is that extra thing? They will say analyze, that is do the analysis and also describe what you have done. Okay, describe the structure of the line. Now, supposing they say describe the structure of the line, how will you describe? For doing the description, I'm giving you the names of these patterns. Okay, so here in this particular line, we said there are 5 feet. Very good. Now, every feet you will have to describe. So you can say the first foot is in which pattern? What is the name of the pattern that you have seen? See the first foot pattern of the first foot. What is the pattern? Behold. First one is having 2 syllables. Out of the 2 syllables, the first syllable B is unstressed, the second syllable hold is stressed. Right? So unstressed, stressed. What is the name of the pattern we have seen? The pattern is iambic. So how will we describe now? We will simply say the first foot is iambic. The second foot, what is about the second foot? The second foot also has the same pattern. So we will say second foot is also iambic. Third foot is also iambic. Fourth is also iambic. Fifth is also iambic. So we can say it in this way also. that in this particular line, all the 5 feet are written in iambic. Okay, you can simply say that. Okay. Now, instead of saying this, uh, we can also have variations. Okay. Now, see, in this particular line, it is very simple, because all the 5 feet that we have the same pattern, that is iambic pattern. Instead of that, we can also have some variations. Supposing foot number 1, 2 is in iambic pattern, it can be that foot number 2 is written in trochaic. Again, foot number 4 and 5 will be written in iambic. Chota variations can be there in the poem. Okay, so supposing we have variations, then what we will say? Then we will have to break it into foot and describe. We will say foot number 1, foot number 2, foot number 4 and foot number 5 are written in iambic pattern, whereas foot number 3 is written in Trocake pattern. If we have a variation, please remember, then the foot in which the variation is coming, that foot we will have to describe separately. And all the other foot, all the other feet where the same pattern is being followed, then we can have them described together. Okay? Just if they ask for description, you describe. If the question does not ask for description, you don't have to describe. Okay? You simply mark and leave it. Now see, come down to Trocake pattern. That first one we saw was written in iambic. Now this is an example of Trocake. Remember Trocake? What happens in Trocake? I said in Trocake there are again 2 syllables in every foot, but this is opposite of iambic. Why? The first syllable gets the stress, the second syllable does not get the stress. Okay? So let's see. By the shores of Gitchgum, by the shining big sea water, stood the wigwam of Nokomis, daughter of the moon, Nokomis. Okay? Let's see the first line. By the shores of Gitchgumi. By the shores of